Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
You know, sometimes you get your groove back from some pretty unexpected places, and guess what? If you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean you are in the seats with once more. As always, my name is Dave Voigt, and I am the host of this podcast where we sit down with a wide-ranging variety of entertainment industry professionals and we pick their brain about current projects, state of the industry, how they got started, and so very much more in a light and in a conversational fashion. And you know, if you like how we do things around here, I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that you do, because let's face it, you're listening right now. And if you are listening, subscribe. Hit that subscribe button, gives you a 5-star rating on your podcast provider of choice. We're available pretty much everywhere. Places like Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Google, and plus we archive every single one of our episodes over at our In the Seats YouTube channel. So if you can give us a like and subscribe there as well, God knows we would absolutely appreciate it. Also, don't hesitate to check us out on social media. We're on the Facebook, the Twitter, the Instagram, the Letterboxd, the Threads, TikTok even, I think, and, well, probably several other places that I'm not even thinking of, at In the Seats, for all sorts of fun updates. And finally, and I do dare say most importantly, please pay us a visit over at In the Seats, intheseats.ca, for all the latest and greatest from the world of film, television, basically the moving image at large. Because guess what? If we love to watch it and write about it and talk about it, we love it even more when you come by and read about it and listen about it. So please do us that supreme kindness and please pay us a visit. On this episode, we got a fun one, a fun little bit of Canadiana, which is hitting video on demand platforms. Well, it hit it today. This because it's Tuesday. That's when a lot of stuff drops. And I mean, it is a fantastic comedy called Suze, and it's the story of a mother, Suze, played wonderfully by Michaela Watkins. When her only daughter goes off to university, she's in an empty nest, and she's stuck taking care of her daughter's heartbroken ex-boyfriend, who she hilariously cannot stand. It's a comedy of errors. It's an odd couple comedy, but it's sweet and it works so well, and it played theatrically, and a lot of people get a chance to see it. Now, even more and more people are going to get to see it because it is on video on demand platforms. But we had the unique pleasure of sitting down with the writers and directors of the film, the one only Dane Clark and Linsey Stewart, to ask about the origins of the story, putting it all together, and the sweetness and hilarity they are in. That is Suze, which, like I said, is available on pretty much all your video on demand platforms right now. We're iTunes people ourselves, but I think it's probably on all the spots too. So go check out Suze. But first, enjoy our talk with Dane and Linsey, because between you and me, it's a pretty darn good one. All right. Well, obviously, first off, both of you, I mean, just thank you so much for the time today. And I mean, congrats on the film. I thought it was a hoot.
Oh,
Oh,
good.
good.
I love a hoot of a film.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that.
Thanks for
I guess,
watching.
I guess the first question is sort of walk me through the origin of it all, because I mean, again, it's drop dead funny, but I mean, there's also some real sort of tender bits as well throughout. It's a nice balance.
Yeah. Well,
Good, thanks.
I think we were very interested in telling a very character driven movie. Some of our influences in that particular moment were like from that early 2000 time. You Can Count on Me,
Yeah.
What's Eating Gilbert Grape, eventually Juno, just these really intimate but big feeling stories. And I think where we started on this one is we just had this thought of two people that help each other get to a better place in life, and like a tribute to those Suzes, our particular Suzes
Totally.
that help us, do that for us.
And get us out of the darkness.
Yeah.
Was kind of our goal with this.
Yeah. And then eventually it sort of started to manifest itself into this 50-year-old woman that's going through perimenopause. And we had that idea for a while, and we were circling, we're like, we knew she's going to be hanging desperately onto her daughter. We know she's sort of obsessed with her because there's not that much else going on in her life, and she's built everything around her. So what would be the worst thing possible is to have this boyfriend around that she can't stand, as monopolizing all of her daughter's time.
Mhm.
And
getting stuck taking care of the kid that she
stuck.
doesn't want,
Yeah.
while she's losing the one that she does want, was comedic to us.
Yeah, we like that equation.
Yeah.
It was a hoot.
Well, it was, and I mean, it does work, and I mean, obviously, you had people who were very sort of in tune with the material because I mean, obviously, I've always thought Michaela is very underrated as an actor, but I
Oh,
mean,
Yeah.
Charlie, I swear to God, I wanted to punch him in the face for the first half hour in the movie, but I mean, then
yeah.
I was getting on his side.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the intention, and we've heard that a bunch of times, which is kind of scary to hear because, if you lose your audience too fast,
Yeah.
there's a fear that you might never get them back. But
You hope
fortunately,
if people
yeah,
keep watching past the 30 minutes to like he starts to get likable,
yeah,
then we're good.
How did you sort of settle on everyone? And I mean, especially finding chemistry too, because I mean, again, the banter felt very effortless, which obviously is a credit to you guys as well. But I mean, if the actors sort of aren't on the same page, it's not going to work.
yeah,
Oh, it's just such a credit to them too. Like we just, honestly, we just got lucky and we cast the right people. It's like, we had to offer it to both of them. So they didn't audition or read together or anything like that. We just had to like look at them and be like, okay, Michaela seems like a good
hmm
person. Charlie seems like a good person. Let's put them together and see if it works. And we just had a quick like,
yeah.
little Zoom rehearsal with them for the first time when they met, and they just read a couple scenes and we're like, okay, thankfully they're charming and lovely together. And yeah.
Well, without giving you the impression that it was just casting smooth sailing, because it definitely wasn't. But these two are at the top of our list from day one.
Yeah.
And it's hard to imagine anybody else in these roles now. I mean, particularly Michaela as Suze. Like, I just think she just embodies that perfect tension of a doting mother, but that secretly underneath she's screaming. I mean, her body's on fire in general, but she's also just so frustrated with where she's at, and this kid helps her kind of confront some of those things, and her to him as well, who helps him confront a whole bunch of stuff going on in his life. So yeah, they walked a tightrope together, and I'm so glad they did.
Yeah.
Well, and it's such an interesting dynamic, even with Michaela's character and Aaron. Just sort of that dynamic of her being, this woman who is like, I mean, almost, I mean, not literally, but I mean, just on in this sort of emotional fire, having to deal with him, but dealing with
Yeah.
her own stuff, but then having to sort of see the other side of the coin and the reality of someone who just kind of doesn't want the kid around.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that part kind of broke our heart. And it's like, we've seen both versions of those parents that like some were smothering their kids too much and some don't want enough to do
Hmm.
with them. And yeah, meeting those two, they're opposite parents.
For sure.
Now, I mean, I'm curious on something like this. I mean, also specifically because you both wrote and directed. Are you guys the type who are sort of very specific to the words, or I mean, did you give Michaela and Charlie like a bit of rope to play around with stuff?
Both. I think they're very interesting in their approach. Michaela, just because she comes from a tremendous improv background, starting with the Groundlings, and still works with them. She has such a great ear, and she does. But what I love about her is she doesn't just try and mess with words for the sake of it. If it sounds pleasing to her ear and she likes the flow of it, there's there's nothing she's gonna touch. But if she can help enhance a scene, she 100% lets us know, and it's always better because of it. I'll give you one example: is Sarah, who Sarah Weisglass, who plays Brooke. She has a rant in the movie about how fine she'll just stay in this town and get hooked on fentanyl and have babies, have twins. Would you like that? Of course, I'm paraphrasing because I'm terrible at
You're doing great.
remembering our lines. But it was Michaela's idea to say her first line back to that is, well, I'll help you raise the twins. And it always gets such a good laugh in the theater. And again, I think our response was that was I don't know, just something less dynamic. So it was a good lesson in writing for us to just every opportunity you have to be specific, do that. And the details matter. So testament to her for helping, yeah, bring a little bit of those elevations to life.
Yeah, they both had nice little nuggets.
No, I mean, I'm curious because I mean, obviously, you guys have been around for a minute. You have a lot of experience writing on, doing other things and also doing stuff for TV. But I mean, as I look through everything that you've done, correct me if I'm wrong. This is either the first or the second feature that you guys have probably put together.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's our
exactly.
second feature, but the first one with an actual budget. Like our first
Mhm.
feature was like $30,000. or something that was just shot in 12 days. It was like super micro and just kind of, yeah, we took advantage of an opportunity basically. And this feels like our first feature, even though it's our second, but this feels more like
Grown up.
grown up and
Yeah.
like the movie that we wanted to make, and that feels
Our
like,
voice.
yeah, better example of our voice than the first one.
Well, I mean, I
Yeah.
love that you say that because I'm always curious about people who work back and forth because I mean, in many ways, like no matter what level you're working on it at, TV is a machine.
Oh
Where
Yeah,
yeah,
independent cinema has a bit more sort of room to breathe, as it were.
totally. And it's
for
super
sure.
like it's one of those weird things where it's like, yeah, on TV, it's like our job is to help execute the creator's voice,
Yeah.
right? It's
Mhm.
like, but then when it's our stuff, it's like that's when we get to actually play our voice. And so, like, you know, all the TV shows on we've worked on, which have been great, and we're grateful for the employment. It's like they're not our voice or
Mhm.
like an example of who we are. It's like that's us doing our job, helping the
Yeah.
writer, creator of that show. So it's always weird too, like when people are just like see that you did like some TV stuff, and you're like, that's not like that. And you're like, no, it was a job. I needed to eat food.
But we
We were
take,
lucky.
yeah.
We were lucky to work in that medium because you learn so much from it as
Yeah,
well.
that's what I was gonna say. Like we take from both we take experiences from both sides. So all of the TV, which has primarily been half hour in the world of sitcoms,
Yeah.
that definitely helps us on our features of just trying to, with Suze, it is a comedy drama. So there is sometimes that we want to hit a certain beat in a way that's amusing, maybe not jokes on a page, but it certainly has helped us sort of hone into those moments that maybe comedy TV shows would. And I think when we're in the rooms, we take a little bit of the experience that we've had as individuals and creators and filmmakers and bring that. And I think that's been really helpful to do as well. So I mean, a more succinct way of saying this would be that they complement one another.
Well, I mean, I would agree. I would agree with that too, because I mean, again, especially in watching Suze, I mean, there's really some funny moments, but I mean, again, it's not trying to. It doesn't feel like it's trying to hit a beat. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's trying to right before commercial kind of thing. It's playing a lot more organically and naturally, which I mean, obviously, I loved. But I mean, I'm curious for you, Dane, Lindsay, like talk to me a little bit about the stuff that really got you into wanting to be storytellers. Because again,
Mm.
when you see this, we've seen this kind of story before, but there's
Yeah.
a freshness to it that it's like even I'm now sort of having seen it, I'm still having a hard time kind of putting my finger on it.
Right.
Right.
I mean,
I
that's great
appreciate
to
it.
hear. Yeah, that's what we always strive for. And it's always nice, like some of the favorite review, or like there's one review, but it just said, I was super skeptical going into this because like most of the ideas sound terrible, right?
Mm.
It's like, oh, it's about an empty nest mom
It's
and
like
then
derp to
you
derp.
need a
Yeah, yeah.
kid.
Yeah,
Totally.
yeah.
And you're just like we're aware, but we want our goal is to be like fresh but familiar
Mhm.
and still have like a little bit of a commercial thing because we want people to see it and
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
we want people to be entertained and
There's a defined idea, but like
yeah,
like
totally.
you're saying, is
And
it
we like telling a complete story
yeah.
too, which is kind of like what makes it commercial. Like we follow our old three-act structure and we want the whole thing to feel satisfying at the end and
And then
not.
try and bury it so that what you're saying is hopefully it feels organic. I think that's really what TV's helped us do. I don't mean to cut you off,
No,
Dane, but
just
like that's that sweet spot of like we can formulate an idea, we love structure, we'll hit some jokes, but then it's like how do you bury it all so that it doesn't feel so overt? Um,
yeah.
yeah.
And the second, oh yeah, inspired by like, yeah, we just grew up loving indie movies. Like You Can Count on Me, like
Mhm.
Swingers, Stand By Me,
You're
uh,
a film kid though.
Say Anything.
Just
I mean,
admit
I
who
love,
you are.
well, I love all of those like 90s rom-coms too. It's like I love Cameron Crowe and James L. Brooks. And it's like those movies just hit me when I was younger and I wanted to grow up and make them.
You spent a lot of time in your basement watching movies.
Spent a lot of time watching VHS in the basement. Yes, I
I'm
did.
with you on that one, brother, for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And no shame, obviously. I'm just late to the party. My trajectory is a little more circuitous in a sense. I was a jock in high school. I knew there was like an artistic person. I just didn't have a very visible talent. I wasn't a singer, I wasn't an actor. I'm tall, so I played basketball competitively all the way through university. And then I became a copywriter. So that was the thing that actually kind of helped me become a writer. I did lots of TV commercials, lots of radio, because copywriters tend to not like them. And I thought that was the best gig you could get, because you just get to kind of write a whole bunch of dialogue by yourself and then go into a recording studio with really funny actors and make things. And that was sort of the encouragement that I needed to tell myself, oh, maybe I'm not terrible at this, but also I don't think I want to write Mr. Clean ads for the rest of my life. And I want to maybe bring this into a bigger arena. And then I started thinking about screenwriting, and I was watching a ton of Six Feet Under at the time, and I just was blown away that somebody got to do that for a living. And then that's kind of where it got dangerous. I was like, uh-oh, I just found a career. Uh-oh, I think I'm leaving it. And I did.
Well, and I mean, I love those references that you guys brought up. I mean, particularly Crow and Brooks, because I mean, I saw a
Yeah.
lot of that in this film, and I mean, to me, this was really such a unique example of, I guess, maybe where Canadian cinema has evolved to. Because initially,
Mm.
even when I saw the premise and I saw it, I'm like, oh, this must be some little indie thing from the States. I didn't actually realize it was you guys were Canadian and this was a Canadian production, but
Right.
I
Hilarious.
absolutely loved it. And I mean, to me, this is sort of what audiences need to see what Canadian cinema is. Like, we're competing on a world stage now. It's not sort of the Beachcombers corner gas kind of motif when we think of Canadiana. It's so much more than that now. But I think with this, it's really
Yeah.
a fantastic, sort of accessible example for so many people out there. But I mean, both of you, just congrats on the work, and thank you so much for the time today. I really appreciate this.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks for watching
And
and your kind words and great questions.
yes, I
For
just
sure.
scratched my face again. But I was gonna just if you, I was gonna say, my hope too is sort of movies like The Holdovers, which seems to be
Right.
getting
Yeah.
a lot of traction right now, is going to lead to a stronger appetite towards these character-driven movies, which are not new in any shape or form, but just to have sort of a rebirth of our love for them. And that isn't to say I'm against the bigger Hollywood, blockbusters, but it's just to go back to those intimate stories, but they make you feel so big, small but big. Small stories, I guess, in scope, but such big feelings in end result. And that's what we're all about, which I know you didn't ask to hear any of that rant.
No, but I love it. I mean, because that's what I'm all about too. And I mean, that's such an important thing to me. But I mean, again, I just can't wait for more and more people to see it. It's really a fantastic piece of work. And I mean, congrats on it and good luck going forward. But I mean, again, just thank you so much for the time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're a
Appreciate
great interviewer.
Well,
it.
I try, but thank you.
Yeah. Nailed it. A plus.
And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.